All right, good morning, everyone. Officially welcome to Tuesday, right? Tuesday. So, how'd the quiz go yesterday? What were your thoughts? Easy, hard? What
I
you
did my best.
you did your best? Was it kind of what you expected, or was it not what you expected?
Different.
Different. What did you expect?
I don't know. I think someone told me it's like all like opinions.
Oh,
But this one, I think there was like a definition, like kind of question, right?
yeah, there definitely was, right? So, yeah. I mean, the class is not all opinions, right? There's a little bit of room for discussing things, but we also have to know some things too, right? Unadi, what did you think? Was it
Well,
what?
it's a little different for me because last semester I did online tests and this time I did it.
Right, right. Which one was easier for you?
I think the online one.
The online one?
Yeah,
Morning.
Good morning. The online one was really
yeah.
interesting. Okay. Good morning. Very interesting. Peter and Etel, what did you think of the quiz yesterday? How did it go?
Like 4 out of 10 questions, I think. Well put.
Yeah? You thought it was okay? Yeah, you too? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna mark them this afternoon, so hopefully.
Are we gonna see the result in student portal or?
I'm gonna hand them back to you.
Oh.
We're gonna review them quickly, and then I will put the result in student portal too. Yeah. Okay. So we've got Kayla here. So good morning, Kayla. We've got Jesse here. Good morning, Jesse. Let's jump into where we were. And if I recall, oh yes, we were right in the middle of Mean Girls, or at least partway into it, right? Um, Remind me what was kind of going on here. So we said Katie was originally homeschooled, right? She was homeschooled with her parents in Africa, and then in high school she comes back to the United States and is kind of dropped into an American high school. And there's all kind of social rules that she doesn't know, right? And what kind of things does she not really understand or not know?
Pink on Wednesdays.
What's that?
You have to wear pink on Wednesdays.
Well, that's not a school rule, right? What kind of things does she not understand about how school works, high school works?
Getting lunch and staying with others.
Right. So she kind of comes into the cafeteria with her meal, and then she's like, "Oh gosh, right? Look at all these people. Where do I sit? Some people are looking at me in a very unfriendly manner, right? What do I do here, right? Where do I kind of fit in?" What else does she not know, or what else is?
Bathroom pass?
Oh yeah, she needs a bathroom pass, right? So she tries to go to the bathroom, and the teacher's like, "You need a lavatory pass." And then she's like, "Oh, okay. Can I have the lavatory pass?" And he's like, "Nice try," which I don't get.
Yeah, same.
Also, I don't want to like police people's bowel movements. I don't want to be in charge of that. Like if you have to go to the bathroom, you should go to the bathroom. I don't. Anyway, um, what else? What else does she not know? What else does she not know?
I can't think of anything.
Yeah, there was a bunch of things, right? There was a little kind of almost a montage of her, don't read ahead, don't write in green pen, don't, lavatory pass. Um, and then she's kind of just confused about how the school works, right? And we kind of said, I think, shoot, who was it? I think it was Arad who said it. He said that she was kind of naive, right? She was kind of like, she kind of thought everyone was going to be friendly to her, and she pretty quickly found out that not everyone was going to be friendly to her, right? So why doesn't she kind of know how to act in this environment?
She's never been in a like public high school.
Right? So she hasn't been.
In actual school.
Uh huh. And therefore she hasn't been.
socialized.
Yes. There we go. Ding 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 ding. Yeah. So she hasn't really been socialized, right? We talked about that process of socialization that happens in society, and high school is a little society. It's a tiny little society. And yeah, she hasn't been socialized. She doesn't know any of the rules or behaviors or norms or any of that stuff, right? So she's kind of wandering around, making mistakes, saying weird things, right? People are looking at her like, "Where are you from?" And it's because she hasn't been socialized, right? She doesn't know the rules. We were talking about the different groups in high school, right? What were some of those groups? Remind.
Geek.
Right, the band geeks. Who else do we have? I believe they were sexually active band geeks,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
whatever.
Cool Asians.
Cool Asians,
Nerdy Asians.
nerdy Asians, or Asian nerds, right?
Plastics.
The plastics.
What else?
Who else do we have?
Jock.
Jocks. We have the desperate wannabes.
Oh.
They so want to be popular, but they're so not.
The girls who don't eat anything.
Girls who don't eat anything.
The kids, the small,
What's that?
the kids with molds.
Oh yeah, the pot smoking
Burnouts.
kids, the burnouts, right? And then the girls who eat their feelings, right? I think that's
And the Janice and who's that name?
Janice and Damien,
Yeah.
right? The greatest people you will
Yeah,
ever
that
meet,
one.
right? So okay, there's all these different groups in this high school, right? We sort of the camera moves through the cafeteria and we sort of meet them all. And what kind of here they all are. So varsity jocks and desperate wannabes and so on and so forth. What kind of determines what group people belong to? Race is part of it, for sure, right? We said there's Asian nerds. Oh, and there's unfriendly black hotties too, right? So race has something to do with it. Not everything to do with it, but something. What else has to do with it?
Interest.
Interest, right? So the jocks are all football players, right? The Asian nerds, I assume, are all into nerdy things. What else? What else determines? Popularity, right? Social status has something to do with these groups. Okay. Social status has something to do with these groups, and maybe one more thing. One more thing. The jocks are all, and the plastics are all.
Gender.
Yeah, gender's the last thing, right? So some of the groups are gendered. Not all of them, right? The band geeks have both guys and girls in it, right? So do the cool Asians, I think, maybe. But yeah, some groups are gendered. The plastics are all girls. It would be strange to see a guy in the plastics, right? And again, the varsity jocks are all guys. It would be strange to see a girl in the jocks group, right? So,
Have you finished the book?
no, well, we are going to finish it, but we haven't finished it yet. Right, and so very quickly, what kind of rules are the plastics supposed to observe? What rules do the plastics have? Eunice, you mentioned one.
Pink on Wednesdays.
Yep, got to wear pink on
Not
Wednesday.
dating exes.
What's that?
Not dating exes.
Yep, no dating exes.
I think no sweatpants or joggers. I think.
Yep, sweatpants only on
Friday.
Friday. Yep, only on Friday. Jeans or sweatpants on Friday only. What else?
Ponytail once
Once
a week only.
Ponytail once a week. Yep,
Staying safe.
there we go. Ponytail once a week. And what else?
Staying safe.
Yeah, that's kind of an unspoken rule, I think, right? You have to remain fit and pretty and things like that, but that's an unspoken rule. Anything else?
I can't.
Okay, that's close enough. I think that's most, if not all of them. And if you break the rules, what happens?
You can't sit with them at lunch.
Can't sit with them at lunch.
That's for the jeans and the pants related.
Yeah, yeah. If you break the rules, you cannot sit with them at lunch. Okay. So that catches us up. So if you'll recall, the plastics kind of were trying to bring Katie into their group. Katie, of course, made friends with Janice and Damien first. And Janice and Damien, and well, it's really more Janice and Katie, they hatched this plan to sort of infiltrate the plastics and spy on them so they can get a good laugh, right? That's the plan. Oh, but then there's Aaron Samuels, right? He's so dreamy, right? Isn't he gorgeous? Come on, people.
Only when he was young.
Only when he was young.
If you see the picture now, I think he's a bit more.
Is he? Let's
He looks better when he was younger, I guess.
let's see. Aaron Samuels is Jonathan Bennett.
Oh right, yeah, I remember.
That's his name. Let's see here. Jonathan Bennett.
Same goes for McDreamy. He looks better in the early seasons of
Oh no, he's a good-looking guy.
Jonathan Bennett.
Yeah.
Really? Let me see.
Pretty much. I think he's a pretty good-looking guy still. What do you think?
Yeah.
I think he's a handsome dude.
Sure, he's handsome.
Yeah, I think he's still handsome.
He looks hotter when he was younger.
Well, that's usually the case, Eunice. I'm sorry to tell you, but most people look hotter when they're younger. Okay, so. Okay, so there's Aaron Samuels, right, who is Regina's
He's not straight.
ex-boyfriend. What?
Alright.
In real life, he's not straight?
Yeah.
He's gay, right?
Oh, he's gay. Okay. All right. So, Aaron is Regina's ex-boyfriend. Katie kind of develops a crush on Aaron, and then what does Regina do?
She kisses him at the Halloween party in front of
Katie.
In front of Katie. Yeah, she kind of gets him back, right?
I was about to say Lindsay.
Oof. Yeah. Ouch. Right. And then so right before we stopped the movie last time, what does Janice and Katie, what do they plan to do?
Give Regina for period.
Well, that's part of the plan, but what's the ultimate goal of the plan?
They want
Get the
The-
minions, the Gretchen and who's that? Not Karen. Yeah, Gretchen and Karen, right? Like away from her.
Yeah, well they're going to destroy Regina basically, right? They're going to destroy her by sort of somehow taking away Aaron Samuels. They're going to somehow alienate her from her group, and they're going to try to make her less attractive, right? This is a devious plan. Devious. Okay, are we ready to continue the movie?
Very.
Very ready. Okay, so give me a second here. So for online people, you'll remember that you can find. Let me just see. Actually, you can find the movie in the college library. So remember, go to the Columbia College website, go to the library, go to find materials, and then streaming videos, and then Criterion on demand, and that's what will allow you to watch the movie for free. Of course, it's on Netflix too, so if you have Netflix, you can watch it there, and that's probably just easier for you. But whatever you like, either way, you can do it. So last time, let me just look where we were here. Where were we?
I think it was the candy cane.
Yeah, it was right before the Jingle Bell Rock
Oh,
scene.
that iconic.
Yeah, the whole dance thing.
When Kris Jenner recreated that one.
Did she?
Yeah, her and Ariana Grande.
Okay. All right. So let's get back up a little bit. Okay. So, online people, we're starting here. I think I'm going to start at 35 minutes and 28 seconds. So I just put that in the chat there. That's where we'll start from. It's 20 minutes. Let's watch 25 minutes and take a break, okay? So
Okay.
watch 25 minutes. Whoops. Okay, so that's what we'll do. Everybody ready? Okay, let's do it. Okay, and online people, will see you after 25 minutes of the movie and after a bit of a break, okay? So see you in a bit. Okay, and we're back. So, interesting and exciting developments. Lots of drama happening here, right? So my question for you here is from the questions I asked you. Oh yeah, okay. I got 3 questions here. First question is, I think it's right after the Jingle Bell Rock number, right? After the Jingle Bell Rock thing, Regina's being awful to Gretchen, right? And Katie's narrating and she says, but even though Regina was being awful to Gretchen, Gretchen is trying to be nice to Regina because Gretchen knows it's better to be in a group than not in a group. Well, why do you think she says that? Or why do you think she feels that way, Gretchen? Why does Gretchen feel that way?
Because she feels she's left out by Regina.
She's left out?
She doesn't want to lose her status.
Okay, so if she was not in the plastics anymore, she wouldn't be part of this group that is kind of at the top of the school, right? There's part of that. Okay. What else? Why else might Gretchen want to stay in the group even though Regina's being awful to her?
This kind of shows that she's famous. She's famous in the group.
Okay. Give me a little bit more there. What do you mean by that?
Like Katie once said that being in plastics, like being in plastics shows that they're all famous and people keep staring at them.
Oh, yeah. So,
She might be doing this. She doesn't want to lose her fame.
right? So Katie pointed out that being in the plastics, it was almost like being famous. People talked about you and they knew who you were and they knew what you were doing. And yeah, maybe Gretchen doesn't want to lose her celebrity status, right? Yeah, what else? Why else might Gretchen want to stay in the group even though Regina's being awful? Peter, what do you think?
The quality.
What's that?
What is the question?
The question is why, even though Regina is being awful to Gretchen, why does Gretchen want to stay in the group?
Because she sees her as a leader and like of this group, and she understands that even though like Regina is mean and she shows it off, like she doesn't hide it. So Regina tries to, oh no, sorry, she tries to get the boyfriend from Regina at first, but then like when everything goes like she breaks up, Regina breaks up with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And then like this boyfriend still doesn't want to be with this girl because he sees Regina at her also.
Right.
So
Okay, so to sum up your answer, what would you say?
I mean she saw herself maybe in Regina and that's what
Okay.
she wants to do.
Yeah, that's probably true, right? She sees herself in Regina. Maybe she looks up to Regina because Regina was the boss. Gretchen seems to need someone to be the boss, right? Because as soon as Regina has to go sit at the other table, suddenly those two are following Katie around like little puppies, right? So she seems to need somebody to be the boss, right? She needs somebody to be the leader, it looks like. What else would you say that she stays in the group? Why is it better to be in a group than outside of one?
So you're not lonely.
Maybe so you're not lonely, right? Think about the cafeteria scene, right? Now, if Gretchen were to walk into that cafeteria, but she wasn't a member of the plastics anymore, where's she going to sit? Who's she going to hang?
Bathroom stall.
Well, maybe, right? She might wind up in the bathroom just like Katie did at the beginning, right? Especially if what Janice said was true, right? Janice was trying to hurt Katie, but she said, you're in the plastics. You think that everyone is in love with you, but in reality, everyone hates you, right? So maybe Gretchen is worried about leaving the group because maybe that's true, right? Maybe nobody does like Gretchen. And so if they don't, then she's going to have no friends, right? If she leaves that group, she's going to be totally isolated and on her own. Right? Why else? Why else might she stay in the group? Why is it better to be in a group than not in a group?
Especially being in the plastics, and if she leaves, people might look down on her or like think of her differently, and she's not gonna be like at the top as she.
Yeah, and it's interesting, that point and the celebrity point and the status point, I think they all kind of revolve around the idea that, would you say that being a member of the Plastics is part of Gretchen's identity? Would you say that being a member of that group is part of her identity? Yeah. So if she were kicked out of that group, then she loses a piece of her identity, right? And then who is she, right? She's built up this idea of who she is, this beautiful, popular, rich girl who's a member of, the royalty of the school, or the high status people in the school. And then she gets kicked out, and then who is she? She's just Gretchen, right? She's losing a piece of who she thought she was, and now she'll have to figure out, who is she now, right? Who is she without that piece of her identity, right? So, yeah, she doesn't want to, I don't think she wants to leave for all of those reasons, right? She does, she does seem to need a bit of a leader, right? She does see Regina as that. Maybe she sees a bit of herself in Regina. She doesn't want to lose her identity. She doesn't want to lose her status, right? And she might fear being lonely in the school with no, not belonging to any other group. But she might also worry that other people will be mean to her because the Plastics have been mean to other girls, right? So she might be in the group, she's protected, she's safe. Outside of the group, it might be pretty ugly for Gretchen, right? So she's gonna stay in it, right? And I think that's a very human thing to do, right? Is to want to remain part of the group, right? To remain part of the social unit. What else? Any other ideas or thoughts about Gretchen? No? If we wanted to analyze this in sort of a more of a psychological way, we could say that Gretchen really wants to connect with people, and she connects with people through secrets, right? She tells people secrets, and she gets people to tell her secrets because she feels like that gossip is like connection, right? It's like some sort of like intimacy between people, right? It feels like a connection, but it's really not, right? It's just gossiping, but for her it feels that way. But anyway, you could psychologically analyze this movie too, but we won't go there. Oh yeah, okay. And then Katie starts to act like Regina, right? She's supposed to be kind of a spy in this world, right? She's supposed to be infiltrating the Plastics and reporting back, and then they change their plan. They're going to try and sabotage Regina, but she actually starts to become like Regina, right? She starts to dress like her and talk like her and act like her. What on earth is going on? I thought she was trying to destroy Regina. Why is she not acting like her?
She's adapting to Regina's characteristics, pretending to the group to destroy him.
Yes, but what Janice says is that you're not acting anymore, right? Which I think is true. I don't think she is acting. She's behaving this way by her choice. What's that?
She
Yeah.
was too proud because she was like part of the Plastics, and she wanted, I guess, to make advantage of the situation that Regina wasn't the leader anymore, so she wanted to step up and feel like she was the top
Yeah, she's right.
celebrity.
Like when Regina wore sweatpants because none of the pants was fitting on her.
Yeah, yeah.
At that time, the Gretchen and
Gretchen Kieran.
Gretchen and Karen, they both told her to sit somewhere else.
Yep.
And then they started following Katie.
Yeah.
At that moment, maybe Katie realized that they're following me as the leader.
Yeah. So there's so
That's where she's doing.
oh, okay. So the sort of the deposing of Regina as the leader of the Plastics sort of allowed Katie to step into that role. Katie might have been too proud, right? Her ego might have gotten the best of her somehow, which is weird because she started out as she seems like a pretty humble, down to earth person, right? Edel, what do you think is going on here with Katie?
I think she just wants attention.
She just wants attention?
Yeah.
Uh,
She looks like she wants attention.
sh-
That's my opinion.
okay. Yeah, but okay, but what do you think her kind of journey was? Because again, she started off as someone who was really down to earth and really kind of nice, and then she kind of, she kind of turned into this monster, right? And strangely enough, she kind of styled herself on the person she was trying to destroy, right? Don't you think that's a little weird? Like if you think of someone that you really dislike, and even someone that you might take steps to like destroy, like Janice and Katie are, which you shouldn't do, by the way. But if you think of someone you really dislike, can you imagine yourself trying to be like them? Or would you like try to be the opposite? Yeah, like it's weird. I kind of feel like I would, if there was someone I really disliked, I would do my best not to be like them. But again, that's exactly what happens to Katie here. So what's weird, right? Do you think this transformation by Katie is a strange thing, or do you think it's not that strange?
I don't think it's that strange because sometimes if there is a person you don't like,
Yeah.
you might not like it not because you don't want to do it, you just don't want a second person like this, and that's what probably happened in the movie.
Okay.
Regina was the leader of it. Katie was down. Sorry, was her a great.
Gretchen?
Gretchen.
Yeah.
She was down to earth. Then Regina like left, and so Gretchen like went on her place. So of course she became the same because that's how like she was influenced by this circumstance.
Yeah, I guess, That's an interesting point, and maybe that was, Zartaj, maybe that was your point a little bit earlier too, is that it's the position that helps make her that way, right? So she was not quite, she didn't go full Regina at the beginning, but then when she finds herself in the same role, or in the same position, she kind of becomes that.
Because I think if like she went full on Regina mode from the start, like nobody would even talk to her because
Yeah.
they'd be like, who is this? Like,
Yeah.
why is she acting like this?
Yeah.
But then now she can.
Yeah, she's kind of gained a certain amount of, she's gained a lot of social power from being part of the Plastics, right? So she has enough kind of street cred, I guess. She has enough of a reputation to be able to step into that role, right? Yeah, it's interesting, but there's probably a few things that you could, again, if you wanted to psychoanalyze this movie, you could probably talk about a few things. But I was kind of thinking that all of those things are true and correct, but I also think it's because Regina is such a powerful agent of socialization on her own, right? And we saw that happen in the movie, right? Remember when Janice went and cut Regina's shirt? You remember that? She snuck into the locker room, and then what happened the next day? Everyone did it, right? So she's an agent of socialization. She does something, and people copy her, right? Because of her status and her social power, right? And it's interesting how Katie, even though she's in the process of trying to destroy Regina, she's getting socialized by her anyway,
Yeah.
right? And part of that, I think, has to do with her position, right? Like we've talked about, as kind of leader of the plastics. Part of it has to do with the fact that the plastics are at the top of the social pyramid and everyone looks up to them. Part of it is that would you agree with me and say that Regina is very manipulative? People? Yeah. She's very good, right? She even manipulated her own parents out of their bedroom, right? Remember she says at the beginning, she's like, "This is your bedroom? Oh yeah, I made my parents trade me." Right? Would your parents trade bedrooms with you just because you wanted the bigger one?
Definitely not.
No, mine neither, right? But Regina is manipulative enough even to get her parents to do what she wants, right? And so, again, she's a powerful agent of socialization because she knows how to manipulate people, right? And she's good at it, unfortunately, right? And it works on the other girls and it works on Katie, right? Even when Katie is trying to take her down, she begins to be influenced by Regina anyway, right? And there's an important, and the reason I bring that up, is that this is true of socialization for all of us, right? We are socialized against our will, right? We are born into a society and we sort of encounter ideas and beliefs and values. We absorb those ideas and beliefs and values, but it often happens without us saying yes to it, and it often happens even without us knowing that it's happening, right? And so that's exactly what happens to Katie. She's being socialized really without realizing it, right? She's absorbing these ideas and behaviors, and she's telling people to shut up, which is what Regina does all the time, and it's happening really without her even noticing, right? And I think, or maybe she notices sometimes, right? She's like, "Oh, why can't I stop talking about Regina," right? And so that's what's happening there is strange, but also not strange, because that happens to all of us, right? We are exposed to ideas and we internalize them, usually without really realizing that we are, unless we're really conscious, right? Unless we're really paying attention to what's going on, we often miss it, right? And we absorb them before we even know, and that's exactly what happens to Katie here. Okay, last question here. Regina wears sweatpants and then she's required to sit at a different table. What's going on there in sociological terms?
Because she breaks the rule
Yep,
she made.
yep. She made it, but still. She breaks a social rule, or maybe if I wanted to say it fancier, I would say she violates a social norm, yeah, or rule. She violates a social norm, and then what happens? Punishment, right? That's exactly what happens, right? And we talked about that earlier. We said that we are socialized by society. Society teaches us social norms, and if we violate the rules, people will try to punish us in order to get us to follow the rule again, right? And sometimes it's a minor punishment, right? Sometimes people, will just stand a little further back from you, or maybe they won't want to talk to you, or they'll look at you a little funny. Sometimes it's having to sit at another table. And what do you think of the punishment of having to sit at another table? Is that a harsh punishment or not so much? Not so much?
I mean, it depends. I think in case of Regina, like she's a leader and she's being kicked off the table, it's gonna be harsh for her.
Yeah. What do you think? Harsh? Not harsh? Yeah. Super harsh, I think. Because not only is she, because Peter points out, not only is she the leader, but she gets kicked out. She has to sit at another table, and it's in front of everybody, right? Everyone's in the cafeteria looking at them because they're they're the celebrities of the school, right? And like to have that happen in front of everyone, mortifying, right? Awful. It doesn't seem like much, but I think it's a very strong. Can you imagine? She gets kicked out, and then everyone's like whispering, "Regina's not sitting. What's going on?" Psh, 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 psh. Right? Everyone starts to whisper and stare at her, and wonder what's going on. Right? It's a super strong punishment, and that kind of social pressure is a very strong kind of form of social control. There are cultures, Peter and Ethel, there are cultures that where, because they're kind of simple cultures, so they don't have, law enforcement or anything like that. But if you do something bad, they can punish you, and sometimes they do punish you, by simply ignoring you, right? So, so Unadi, you did something really bad, and so your punishment is that we're going to ignore you for a month. And this is imagine a small village or a very small group of people. Nobody's going to look at you or talk to you or hear you or pretend you exist at all. You're going to be entirely invisible for a month. And it doesn't really sound that bad, but it's brutal, right? The entire village, everyone you know, just pretends like you're not there. And it's harsh. It's really harsh, right? And so, for Regina here, Regina kind of dreams up these rules, right? But she's punished for them, right? She's punished when she violates them. The other thing that might be important is what kind of rule does she violate? What does she do?
Like she wore her sweatpants.
Yeah. Does that seem like a big deal? No. Lots of us wear sweatpants, some of us every day, right? It's whatever, right? But this is a very arbitrary rule, right? It's a rule that doesn't, it's not like don't kill anyone, right? That's a pretty important rule that we follow, right? But, whether you wear sweatpants or not doesn't seem like an important thing to worry about, right? But it doesn't really matter much, does it? Right? And in real life, it doesn't really matter much either, right? If I were to wear a dress to school tomorrow, right? In the grand scheme of things, would that make any difference to anyone? Well, I mean, would the world end? No, right? Nobody would be hurt or injured. None of your lives would be affected.
The surprise, though.
You would be surprised, but it wouldn't really do anything, right? Like, the world is not affected if I wear a dress to school tomorrow. But would people have a reaction? Probably they would, right? And so it's exactly the same thing. Even though many social rules are kind of arbitrary and don't really seem to amount to much, when people break them, we punish them anyway, right? Because humans really want people to follow the rules, even if it's kind of a silly rule, right? Even if it's just wearing sweatpants on the wrong day, right? Even though the rules are kind of made up, and in this case, Regina is the one who makes them up, the rules are made up. Sometimes they're not really super important. They don't really have a lot of effect on people's lives, but still, when people don't follow the rules, we punish them anyway, right? That's an important thing to remember about socialization, right? Because really, all of our rules are made up, are they not? Before COVID, when you meet someone, you shake their hand, right? It's a made up rule. Why do we do that, right? Why don't we go, hey, nice to meet you, right? Why don't we do that? There's no reason, right? The only reason we don't do that and we do that is because we've all agreed that the handshake is the right thing to do, and this is bizarre, right?
Too much work.
It's a lot of, it wouldn't seem like it, right? But again, we've just made it up. Are you all gonna like greet people now in the hallway that way? Hey man, how's it going? But it's true, right? Why do we do one thing and not the other? Well, because we all kind of agreed that we're gonna do this thing and not something else, right? And again, if you look back historically, yes, there's a reason why we shake hands, but that doesn't really matter. What matters is that we've simply all decided that this is the rule, right? We shake hands, we don't, you know, make a funny like moose antlers with our hands, right? And so, but again, if you violate that rule, people will have a reaction, right? Again, not during COVID, right? But before COVID, if I met someone and they said, hey, you know, my name is blah, 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 nice to meet you. And I said, hey, nice to meet you too, but I didn't take the hand. Awkward, right? That'd be.
Keep it hanging there.
Yeah, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever like tried to shake hands with someone and then they didn't shake hands? Then you're like,
Or you thought someone was waving to you, but they were actually waving
Oh.
to someone else. That has happened. to
that's
me.
the worst, right? When
Or
so,
you
looks like
hug-
someone's waving to you and then they're waving to someone behind you,
Or
and you're
you
like,
hug
oh.
the wrong person.
Then you're like, I am the biggest loser on the face of the planet. That's happened to me. Yeah, that's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. But anyway, that's my point, right? The rules are arbitrary. Most of them exist simply because we decided that that's what humans are going to do. And even though the rule might be kind of silly, and you know, like whether I shake someone's hand doesn't really matter. If I wear a dress to school tomorrow, the universe will not end, right? But humans want other humans to follow rules, right? And so they will punish them even if it's a silly rule, right? Even if it's sweatpants on the wrong day, and even if it's a rule that person made up, right? And she says it too, right? Regina recognizes. She says, you know, those. What did she say? Did she say
It's
those?
the only pants that fit her.
No, before that, she's like that's just a stupid made up rule. Is that what she says?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a stupid made up rule, right? But in reality, lots of things that humans do are stupid made up rules. But regardless, we follow them anyway, right? Okay, that's all good. So, okay. That's all I'm going to do for today. I'm going to press pause on it there. Tomorrow we'll come back. We'll watch the rest of the movie. We'll finish up with culture and socialization, and then we'll move on to oppression and power. And once we've kind of defined those things, then we'll be able to start talking about real types of inequality, right? We'll have enough kind of foundation to do that. So that will be all for today. I will let you go. Come back tomorrow, finish Mean Girls, and then oppression and power. Coolio? Okay. That is all, my friends. Have a nice afternoon or rest of the morning, and we'll see you tomorrow, okay?
Have you ever hugged the wrong